Hi, for those of you guys who don't know, I'm Lily. I'm the Youth and Children's Minister here at St. Mark's, and I'm preaching today. In the Jewish tradition, there are multiple daily prayers to be said throughout the day, and some are tied to specific times of the day, like the morning or the evening, and some are tied to specific actions, like eating, or there's a prayer for going to the bathroom. But the very first prayer that you say to open the day in Jewish practice is called the Modeh Ani. And what is unique about this particular prayer is that it does not include any of the names of God. And there's a reason for this. It's so you can say it while you're still in bed. There is a specific allowance made to make sure it is as easy as possible to enter into prayer as the very first thing you do. You don't have to get up, you don't have to get washed, you don't have to do anything. You don't even have to open your eyes. You just lay in bed and you enter into prayer, the Modeh Ani. In medieval Europe, there was something called a Book of Hours that became very popular. And these were small books full of prayers, psalms, and scripture passages, and they were structured around the daily ritual of prayer. We Episcopalians call it the daily office. If you've ever been to a Compline service, that's the one for bedtime. So there was this structured schedule of prayers throughout the day, and you carried this book around with you to do that. And it was made specifically to keep on your person at all times. They were small, they were portable, they were personalized, customized, they were very beautifully decorated, and they usually came with a carrying pocket or a chain so you could keep them on you at all times, and anytime you wanted, you could pull it out of your pocket and just have a little bit of time, a little bit of devotional time. So I don't know if that sounds familiar to anybody. It's this thing that's ours that we carry all the time to kind of always be engaging with. In Muslim practice, it also includes 5 daily times set aside for prayer, and these are embodied prayers. They require the person who's praying to find a quiet space appropriate for the prayer, to face in the direction of Mecca, to wash their hands, and to otherwise move their bodies over the course of this prayer. And in many Muslim areas, there's a call to prayer, which is sung out through speakers into the streets and into the community areas that marks these 5 times per day to let people know, hey, it's time to go off and pray. We don't live in an area like that. We don't hear calls to prayer over speakers at any point during the day, but we do live in the backyard of Stanford, big research institution. And coming out of Stanford, as well as everywhere else, we're seeing study after study after study that demonstrate the positive effects of taking time to enter into quiet, stillness, contemplation, meditation. We here might call that prayer, right? This type of practice has been shown to reduce anxiety and depression, improve attention and focus, and even help with physical pain and illness. And the better our measurement tools become, the more we are able to discover the specific way that this type of ritual creates positive neurological and biochemical changes. And whenever I see a study like that, and I see a zillion of them, especially doing the work that I do, that come up from human scientists using new technology to uncover and understand the workings of our minds and our bodies, I often imagine God smiling and going, you found it. Yeah, I put that there. I built this. I brought all this into being. And I know what's best for you. I only want what's best for you. That's why, for millennia, throughout all practices, all holy scriptures, all cultures and traditions, all different paths to me, I have encouraged this type of thing. And we know, and this harkens back to my Lent sermon, this is my Easter sermon, so it's got to connect to my Lent sermon. We know that when God encourages or asks us to do something, it's not some distant command that we're left on our own to just figure out how to do, right? We have divine support and enablement to draw us into the joy and the peace that God desires for us. But all the work isn't done entirely for us. We may hear a call to prayer, but we still have to heed it. We may have a little devotional book on our person or on our nightstand, but we've still got to open it up and read it. We may have been blessed with a special way to pray while still in bed, but we've still got to do it. And that's the tension I see in today's passages from John and from the gospel. We are told that we abide in God, that we're surrounded by God's love, that God's loving presence is always right there for us to fall into, like the bean bags we've got for the kids back there. But then Jesus gives us an imperative statement: abide in me. It's phrased as something we must do, a choice we make, something active on our part, rather than something we passively receive. And I like to think of it like a radio antenna. If I were to bring, and I thought about bringing a prop to do this, I'm not going to do it, but if I were to bring a radio and turn it on and tune it to station 107.3, it would start playing K-Love, which is the Christian radio station that I like. Even though we can't hear it right now, I don't think anybody's listening to K-Love right now, even though we can't hear it right now, those radio waves are here. They're in this room. And if we were to tune an antenna, we could start hearing it right here, right now. The only reason we're not hearing it is because we don't have a radio turned on and tuned in to that station. And I think that's what Jesus and John are telling us in these passages for today. Make sure that your antenna is tuned to the frequency of God's love and presence. It's there. It's there for you to hear it. But you got to tune in. Okay. How? How exactly are we supposed to do that? It is not easy. It never has been. The Bible doesn't remind us over and over and over. We don't have millennia of tradition and rituals and on-ramps like prayers made for bedtime or community calls to prayer. We wouldn't have all of those to help us out if we didn't need them. Especially today. What we have in our pockets are not devotional prayer books, but distraction machines. We are surrounded by a culture that really doesn't make much room for stillness or quiet contemplation. There's a paradox built into our humanness that rest takes work, that doing what our culture might call nothing takes more discipline than running around doing a million other things, and that what our souls and our bodies long for and need is not always what they do when left to their own devices. Pun intended. So I take solace in the knowledge that all we have to do is try. If we do anything to seek God's presence, we will find it. That's the promise. If we make any space for God's peace in our lives, it will enter. And I don't know what works for you personally. It could be morning prayers while still in bed. It could be listening to Christian radio in the car. It could be some kind of app, there's a bunch of them, that turns your phone into a modern-day book of hours. But today, we ask that question, how? Jesus says, abide in me. Okay, how? Nick and Nancy are gone. They said I could do whatever I wanted. So we're going to do something today. We're going to practice something. I'm going to lead us through a type of prayer and stillness and meditation practice that might be totally new for you. It might not be a practice you have engaged in your life, and that's okay. I will tell you that I do this with the kids with some frequency, and they really enjoy it, and at times request it. So when you have kids requesting a meditation, you either have really weird kids or you have a cool meditation. So, I don't know. All right? If you like this, if I walk us through this and you like this and you want to do more, I really want to encourage you. We've got a yoga class coming up here. We have a library full of books on contemplation and meditative practices. We have the internet, and there's a whole bunch of stuff on there, but they've also got guided meditations and music and apps and information. So if you want to try and enter into this abiding practice, there's a whole, if what we do today makes you think, boy, I want more of that, really press into that. I want to encourage that. So I'm going to walk us through something, and it might be new or unusual, it might be difficult, it might not be your preferred way of abiding in God, but I'll tell you what I tell the kids, just try, just be in it. And also don't make it hard for the person next to you to be doing it. I also tell that to the kids. Try to enter into it and notice what's difficult or what's challenging. Notice what you like. And you might find something new, an interesting way to abide. So what I'm first going to do is invite everyone to get comfortable as much as you can. Close your eyes. And it's usually best for this to have your hands kind of loose in your laps, and you put your bulletin down. Yeah. All right. With our eyes closed, everyone take a deep breath in and out and in and out. And I want you to imagine in your chest a little ball. It could be a flower bud or a stone or just a ball of energy right in between your lungs, behind your sternum. Just sit with your imagination, find that little space there. And taking a deep breath in, call to mind all that makes you feel angry, bitter, outraged. Notice that anger in your body. Let yourself feel it. And a deep breath in. And as we breathe out, I want you to put all that anger in that ball in your chest. Just push it into that space there. And breathing in, I want you to think about what makes you feel hopeless, frustrated, despair. And let those feelings enter into your body and your mind. And we'll breathe in. And as you breathe out, press all those feelings into that space in your chest. Push them in there. And breathe in and call to mind your feelings of grief, sadness, depression. Hold those feelings in you. And we'll breathe in and out. Shove all those feelings into that little ball. It's getting tight in there. You might need to push hard. Push them in there. And deep breath in. And bring to mind all that makes you feel hurt, offended, lonely. Bring all those thoughts and feelings to hold in yourself. And we'll breathe in. And on your out breath, we cram all those feelings into the little ball. Force them. Shove them if you have to. Take a deep breath in. And think of all that makes you feel anxious, worried, or scared. And let those feelings enter you and notice how you feel as you hold them. We'll breathe in. And on your out breath, put them all into that little ball in your chest. And as you continue to breathe, I want you to notice how it feels to hold all those feelings, thoughts, and experiences. And you might be feeling tension or tightness in your body. Your hands or your jaw might be clenched. You might be feeling strain or pressure in your chest. That's okay. Notice it. And if it feels good, lean into that. Squeeze that ball even more tightly. Let your body squeeze around it. And sit with this feeling. And take a deep breath in and hold it. And get ready to exhale, but don't yet, because as we do, we're going to blast that ball open. See it shatter into shards that float away from you, leaving you in the empty space. And notice how it feels now. You are floating in that place left behind between the pieces of what you have just sent away from yourself. And check in with your body. Has that tension left? What do you feel in your chest now that that ball has exploded? This open space, this emptiness between those shards, this is a place where the Spirit meets you. You dwell with God, abide in Christ. And we'll breathe in and let yourself remember this space is always here. You can always return to this place. This peace is God's desire for you. You are always welcome in this stillness. A deep breath in as you notice how this feels, and remind yourself that you can always return to this place. In out, and open your eyes.